All right, y'all. Welcome to the very first episode of Major Concentration. I am Whitney Johnson, your host, and yes, this is Tunnel Vision Network original podcast. Let me say this one more time. This is Tunnel Vision Network original podcast. Now, let me be real. This isn't one of those polished, sugar-coated college podcasts. Not sugar-coated at all. This is about the real side of being a college student. The good, the bad, and the messy in between. You know what I mean? So some days college feels like a circus. I remember my first week trying to figure out where lecture hall was by juggling my schedule. Stanley, coffee, water bottle in one hand. My book bag goes over my shoulder. And it just weighs 150 pounds. So, and then, one time between me and you, I walked into the wrong class twice. Right? If that sounds familiar, you're in the right place. So, I just want to introduce myself. So, who am I? I'm Whitney. I'm a student. I go to Morgan State University, HBCU. Let's go Bears. And right now, I'm working in media with Tunnel Vision Network. And let me say, firsthand, college isn't a straight line. Some days you feel like you're on top of the world, acing everything. And then one day you feel like you're not trying to cry in the library, which I've done also. But let's be real. We all been there. I want to work with Major Concentration because there needs to be a space for honest conversations about student life. No filters, no pretending that everything is perfect, because everything is not perfect and no one is perfect but God. You know what I mean? So one thing you'll notice about me quickly, I am blunt, I am direct, and I like to keep things real. Let me share a few moments from my own college experience. I had a class where the professor barely explained anything, and I ended up learning more from the classmates than the lecture themselves. And sometimes you got to do that. If you don't understand the professor, you got to, sneak a note over to one of your classmates and let them know, listen, you getting this? Because if I'm not getting it, can you help me? And then, having the same assignments while working the same day, part-time job, all trying to survive all in once. And then there was a time I tried to attend a social event after a 12-hour study session. Let's say I fell asleep right in the corner. My priorities are not great at all. And I know you guys can relate. So if there's anything that sounds familiar, trust me, you are not alone. And here's what this show is really about. Major Concentration is a Tunnel Vision Network original podcast, that gives you, straight up and unfiltered look at college experiences. Everybody's college experience is different. Don't let nobody tell you different. Not just the classes, but the culture, the media, and the everyday grind of being a student. And I know this firsthand, you feel me? I'm your host, Whitney Johnson, and this show dives right into conversations students are actually having. Everyday relatable things. We're talking about majors and career paths. Balancing passions with pressure and the challenges and the opportunities that come with being on campus. And we all know what comes on being on campus if you've been on campus for more than 2 years. Because college can be messy. I had weeks where I barely slept, I missed deadlines, and I still try to make it to a social event, which I would never do ever again. And if you ever felt like this is the show for you. Right? Every episode, you're going to hear real stories, real struggles, and real wins. Sometimes it's just not about me talking. Other times, we're bringing students, professors, or people out in the field. So you can get a mix of different perspectives and not just only hear me talking. And trust me, there's always something to learn, to laugh about, or to relate to. You know what I mean? So, and now I want to think about your own college experience. I want you to think about it. I want you to think really hard about it. I want you to think, what does your college experience make of? Because have you ever, stuck, in between the choosing majors? Me, I done chose 5 different majors in 2 years. Or juggling work and classes and trying to find, some kind of social life with your friends. Or maybe, feeling overwhelmed about deadlines and expectations. Because some of these professors expect all of these expectations. And guess what? We'll talk about all of that. because I know it's a lot. And sometimes I feel like nobody else gets it, but that's exactly why this podcast exists, because I get it. I understand. And to give you space to feel seen and heard, and maybe even a little laugh along the way. Sometimes you gotta laugh from crying. You know what I mean? So let's be real. Some of the advice out here is trash. And I'm gonna say this, it is trash. Joining 12 clubs, doing research, getting internships. Yeah, okay. And when do we ever sleep? Because I never sleep. I'm tired right now. And I give you real practical perspectives you can relate to and share some tips I actually learned along the way. So there's a look at what major concentration is all about the raw, the uncut. Everything that I'm going to give you guys is what you guys need to be successful for college life. But it also is real talk, real student life, and no fluff and no bluff. You feel me? And if this sounds like your vibe, go ahead and follow this show so you don't miss an episode. And I want you to always be real with yourself. Don't let nobody tell you different. Realities are wrong. Dreams are for real. And I just want you to share this podcast episode with a friend, a classmate, someone that's not familiar with this, and explain to them that this grind is really what it is. And that's what major concentration is. Major concentration gives you the insight on college experiences that you have, that you think that you're the only one that have, that someone else have also. And I can't wait to dive into this journey with y'all. I can't wait to share my experiences. I can't wait to show you guys that you guys are not alone with going to college. Let me tell you something. College have different experiences. At once I felt like my college experience wasn't the best because I go to work, I go to school, and I go back to work. You know what I'm saying? Versus someone that just got out of high school and going to college, and they don't really have as much responsibilities as I have. So their college experience is a little different from mine. But then I realized that because my college experience is like that, it was so many more people that was like me. I would go to school with my work uniform on. I would be tired driving from one side of the town to the other to come back, just so that I can have that college degree, but also make sure that I'm on top of everything that I need to be on top of. And that's my college experience. And your college experience might be completely way different than mine. You might have everything already figured out. You might have your major figured out. Your major might be something that you wanted to do since you were 5 years old and you're still doing it, versus someone that had something that they wanted to do at 5, but then they changed it. And then you have some people that changed their majors. And semester, some people go from biology to wanting to be a teacher, to wanting to be a theater major, to going back to biology, from second guessing yourself. So this is what this podcast is about, because you are not alone. You're not alone at all. I don't want you to think that you're alone in the college experience, because you're not. Everybody is relatable. This is what this podcast is about. Everyone goes through the same thing. We're going through culture. We're going through stress, being overwhelmed, just sitting here figuring out, how did you get here? And you just were somewhere else, like, do I even really want to do this? And people feel like that all the time. And then some people have it all figured out. But you also want to hear from different people. You want to hear with someone that, has it all figured out. But also you want to hear from someone that's struggling, because most of the time people that's in college are struggling. When you first get to college, your freshman year, you don't know where you're going. You don't know what to do. You're trying to grasp everything. You're trying to be acclimated to a lot of things, because a freshman year, they don't tell you this, but freshman year is probably the hardest year that you'll ever do. And you want to make sure that you got everything all together. And sometimes you might be sitting next to a person that's feeling the same exact way that you're feeling, and you have to speak up, or you're in class and your teacher has a thick accent, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes you're going to get that, and the teacher could be loving, it could be fun, and could be caring about you, and you're like, I do not understand any of this. And someone next to you could be feeling the same way, and you guys can buddy up, do study groups, do all of those good things so that you guys can feel great on college life. Like I said, college life have different experiences. You're going to feel different. You're going to look different. And also, when you come to this podcast, it's non-judgmental. We're here to help everyone that's going through what they're going through. So, in the meantime, I am Whitney. Don't forget, podcasts drop weekly at 6 a.m. Make sure you put your post notifications on. Make sure that you're all ready, okay? So this is not the last that you'll see from Miss Whitney. Thank you, and tune in for the next episode.